hope everyone's excited as I am, as we are getting closer and closer. We're starting to see an awful lot of information come your way in regards to requests. I know the team is going to be getting together over the next in the next week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit and give you an update on what's happening there. Just what's the total number that we have at the moment, George? I see 99 plus.
Yeah, let me just go into it's 108 according to 103 plus the organizers that worked out that way. So we're at 108 out of the potential.
So unit leaders and patrol leaders, again, I would strongly recommend that you push the buttons for your patrols and units to be part of this conversation, to be part of these meetings. That way we do not have parents asking us questions and asking Laura lots and lots of questions. We don't mind answering them, but when we're passing on the information in these forums, this is our best way to do that. So unit leaders and patrol leaders, it's now that point in time that if you can strongly recommend without sort of threats of violence that the youth start participating in these meetings, that would be great. So I'll start it off. So welcome one and all. I think we've gotten the system down and we're doing a great opportunity. I want to thank George Christian for setting this meeting up. We got lots of fun things to say and do tonight. You're going to get a whole lot of information from our travel team. You're going to get a whole lot of information from our health and safety team, as well as from our procurement team. If there's any questions or concerns, ensure that you're giving George or myself an email if there's concerns. I want to thank you all because we are now, I hate to say this, but we're now 4 months away from probably one of the largest adventures of your lifetime up to date. We'll be going to a completely foreign country and everything that sort of connotates in regards to the experiences we're going to have. So got lots of things to talk about. I'll turn it back over to George so that he can sort of move us along on our agenda.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to pass other things that she had to talk about.
Hello. Can everybody hear me well? I assume that's a yes. So, quick reminder for everyone who has not yet done their e-pass. We are past our due date. I highly encourage everyone to email me if you haven't got the invitation, if you haven't got any messages about it, so we can fix that as quick as possible. I put out the list for the PULs. Those are the patrols who have still missing information for. I'm not going to put out the list of adults, but there's about 40 people I still don't have any information on. So please, ISC, everyone, get on that. On the news, we have the doctor's letter decision. It's a letter that can be signed by an adult, a coach, or a scouter. We just want parents and everyone to be aware what to expect when we're at the Jamboree, the amount of walking, the heat, the activity level that we're going to be at. So you make an informed decision on this trip and you're aware of all the challenges that you will face because, like I told the PULs, it's the first time abroad from some people. Everyone's going to be uncomfortable at some point, but we have to enjoy this trip and it's going to be amazing. So if you need any help at any point, let us know. We're there for you. So like I said, the letter is no longer required to be signed by a family doctor, but we recommend we allow it to be signed by a scouter, a coach, an adult, a teacher who knows the person who's going to the trip. The other new information is that the list from the controlled substances came out yesterday. So please check your medications, anything that you think you need to bring with you, especially prescribed medication. There's the alphabetical list made by the doctors, and there's the original Korean list with the active ingredient in English. If you don't find your medication there, check again with a pharmacist on the original list. It might be there, okay? And don't forget that you have to apply for this permit once you get your travel information and print it out as well to have a paper copy when we get to the airport. We don't want anybody to lose their medication because of this, right? Donc, bonjour tout le monde. Comme j'ai mentionné, il manque beaucoup d'informations de IPAC pour la plateforme médicale. Il y a beaucoup de monde qui n'ont pas encore répondu les formulaires et la date limite s'est dépassée quand même. Il y a la liste sur les chats des patrouilles dont les enfants n'ont pas encore rempli toute l'information. Je vous invite à regarder ça, s'il vous plaît. Et si vous avez des questions, envoyez-moi un courriel. Il reste encore une quarantaine d'adultes aussi qui n'ont pas rempli les formulaires. Je vous invite, s'il vous plaît, à le faire le plus rapidement possible. Encore une fois, envoyez-moi un courriel. On va répondre à toutes les questions que vous avez. La décision a été prise pour l'aide du médecin. Ce n'est pas obligatoire. Ce n'est pas obligatoirement une signature d'un médecin famille. Ça peut être une signature d'un parent, tuteur légal, coach, animateur scout. C'est quelqu'un qui connaît la personne qui voyage, qui soit consciente et pas de difficultés, mais comme de ce qu'on va faire. On va quand même marcher beaucoup, il va faire chaud, ça va être confortable. C'est votre premier voyage ou comme c'est votre premier voyage dans une culture complètement différente, c'est normal. Mais il faut être bien informé puis bien savoir qu'est-ce qu'on va aller faire. On veut avoir du fun, puis on veut que tout le monde profite de l'expérience. Donc, il y a n'importe quoi qui pourrait vous déranger, des choses que vous voulez que nous, on soit au courant. S'il vous plaît, laissez-nous le savoir. Ça va être très important. Finalement, la liste des médicaments prescrits, les médicaments contrôlés, est sortie hier dans le dernier e-blast qui a été envoyé. Et cette liste, il y a deux listes. Une, c'est la liste alphabétique que nos médecins ont faite, mais il y a la liste originale en coréen avec les ingrédients actifs en anglais. Okay? Donc, si vous ne trouvez pas vos médicaments dans la liste alphabétique, allez regarder l'original. Allez regarder avec un pharmacien qui vous aide à trouver parce que l'ingrédient actif, le nom ici est peut-être différent parce que c'est le nom courant. Mais l'ingrédient actif, le nom, s'il apparaît sur la liste en coréen, vous devez appliquer pour le permis. Dès que vous allez avoir votre information de voyage, et vous devez imprimer ces permis pour pouvoir passer à l'aéroport. Sinon, vous risquez de ne pas vous laisser, ils vont pas vous laisser rentrer avec vos médicaments. Ça, c'est toute une autre affaire. Donc, on veut éviter ça. S'il vous plaît, faites-le, imprimez-le. Encore une fois, s'il y a des questions, envoyez-moi un courriel, ça va me faire plaisir de répondre. George, you're muted.
Are there any questions for Maria?
I see some. The doctor's letter is not mandatory. It's not mandatory to be signed by a doctor, but it still needs to be signed by an adult, a consenting adult. And that's why I say scouter, legal parent, legal guardian, or teacher.
Perfect. Just
Which list do we take to the pharmacist? You can take the original list in Korean because the active ingredient is in English and they will recognize it.
Sorry, let me go. There is a lot of common medications on that list, not including Ativan and others. Please look over your medicines.
Yeah, like I said, some of the names here are different than what the active ingredient is. So look at the Korean list if ever you have a doubt.
So the next question, do we have a copy of the doctor's letter that needs to be signed?
Yes. I will be sending that out soon because we have to translate it and verify, but it will be coming out.
Next one is, I guess, the same idea. So the doctor letter needs to be submitted for everyone.
Yes.
The next one's for me. There seems to be multiple links to each of these meetings. There's not. I sent out this new link. I sent to all of the ISTs, all of the patrol unit leaders. So if you have an incorrect link, if you're a if you're a parent or a youth, talk to your patrol unit leaders because they should have sent the correct links out this week. If you're an IST, check your emails because I did send out a new link this past week. I've been trying to go to the other one that's hanging around and get everyone over to this one. And I'll probably do that when David's talking in a minute. Is the medical team allowed to give things like Tylenol or ibuprofen, or should kids be bringing their own and take it on their own?
Both. So we will have some extra, and things like Tylenol and ibuprofen we're allowed to hand out. But we do ask you, and you'll see in the newsletter, we ask you to have a little personal kit of ibuprofen, Tylenol, Tums, Benadryl, things that you would use in a trip anyway. But it's the only thing we're allowed to give. I think Dr. Doug and Heather are there if they want to answer that too.
Heather actually has her hand up, so.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to reinforce that the controlled substance list is listed by generic drug name, not by brand name. Somebody mentioned Ativan. You will not find Ativan on the list because Ativan is a brand name. You will find it listed as lorazepam, which is the generic name. So just really important that you know the generic name of the drug you might need to bring with you. And if you're not sure, pharmacist is a great resource to check that for you.
Perfect. How do we send the doctor's letter to the contingent?
It will have to be uploaded on ePact. So in the section that you see physician's letter, it will be modified this week. You can upload the new version in that same place.
Frank says he didn't receive the link. I will follow up. There may have been a miscommunication between myself and Juan Manuel about that. So that one might be on me. For Neil, is there a reason we're not using a consistent link? We stopped using the original link because of that fiasco from the other night. And then I was asked to start creating new meeting links for each meeting. So that's why I am doing it this way now.
The question, sorry, George, I'm just going to quickly jump into a question here. Where Maria, it's Dave Frederick, where Maria talked about updating your EPAC, that is not a static document. You're not finished with that just because you uploaded the information. If there are any changes over the next 4 to 5 months, you need to go into your EPAC and make changes to that information. Correct, Maria?
Exactly, and a few people have asked me about it. I did take a few screenshots on how to do it. When you go to your profile, there's little edit buttons under each section. It's a little blue button on the top right of each little section that you filled out. You click that and you'll be able to modify any section. Again, if you have questions, send me an email. I'll send you a picture.
Just looking through things. Is there your PUL didn't send that out link? We'll follow up with him. What information does the doctor's note need to have? I think there's some here in provide, correct, Maria?
Sorry?
There's a question that says, what information does the doctor's note need to have?
Oh, it's a pre-made letter that you make your doctor sign. That's what it is. Your doctor, a legal guardian, a scouter, coach, an adult.
Perfect. So David put something in French. I'm not even going to try and say that. So if you are on a medication listed on the controlled medication list, you can bring it in with a doctor's note or a prescription.
I will answer that. You need an import permit. A doctor's note and prescription is not adequate.
Perfect.
And just to hold on, just to reinforce what Heather said and Maria has already said, without that permit that has been approved, that medication could get held up at the border. And then this child may not, or adult may not have what they need for the event. It's very important that you look through that controlled substances, that you put in your application, and that you get all of that done. If you have any questions, please reach out to Maria. She's going to speak again in a minute, but it is not as simple as just bringing your prescription to South Korea.
Yeah. So if George, you allow me, I can share my screen. There is a guideline that will come out once the travel information is out, because there's the guideline asks for a few things. Right now you receive the list. Right now you can start looking into the medication, see if you have to apply for this permit or not. If you do, in a few weeks, we'll send out guidelines and the forms that you'll have to fill out. And that's when I say the permit can only be done 60 to 30 days before the trip, because that's when the travel information is coming out, right? Donc, pour les permis des médicaments, c'est un permis que vous devez appliquer pour. Donc, j'essaie de trouver le guide parce qu'il y a 2 formulaires à remplir. Si vous avez, il y a 2 médicaments à faire remplir, en plus des informations de voyage. Et si vous n'avez pas ces permis, vous ne pouvez pas rentrer au pays avec votre médicament. Donc, c'est pas juste une note du médecin qui dit « Ah oui, ça, c'est un médicament prescrit ». Non. Et en plus, il faut qu'il soit en anglais. Donc, je vais partager mon écran. I'm going to share my screen and show you what the guide looks like. You will receive this information later. Here it is. Guideline to bring the permit. You need form number 1, form number 2. Ça, c'est les guides de comment appliquer. Vous avez besoin des 2 formulaires que je vais vous envoyer. Copie de passeport, la copie de réservation d'avion. You need your passport and form. Vous avez besoin de medical certificate doctor's letter, comme vous avez besoin de la lettre du médecin qui dit pourquoi vous avez cette prescription. Avec une prescription valide, you need a valid prescription, the medical certificate doctor's letter, and this is what you will get issued. C'est ça que vous allez recevoir. Le numéro 7, c'est le certificat d'import pour pouvoir rentrer au pays avec. This is what you're going to get and you're going to print. And this is what's going to allow you to enter the country with your medication. Okay? And like it said, English or Korean only. So the French one has to be translated. Il accepte seulement en anglais ou en coréen. Donc, le français, il faut que ça soit fait en anglais. Sinon, il faut notarier la traduction du français en anglais pour avoir les bons documents. Sinon, ça n'est pas accepté. Okay. How do I stop sharing? Like that. Does that answer most of the questions?
So there's a couple of others because people were a bit late coming to this one. 2 questions were, where does the parent consent form, or no, sorry, that one's already passed. Where, for those of us who join later due to being the other link, can you clarify the doctor's note? I heard someone say that it's not mandatory, but someone else said it is. Does it need to be signed by a doctor?
So no, it has been changed. It can be signed by a legal guardian, a parent, a scouter, a teacher, a coach, an adult that knows the kid who's traveling, or an adult who knows the adult IEC who's traveling. It does not need to be a doctor. We highly recommend it, but it's not mandatory.
And then the next one, sorry, please confirm, can you bring enough medications for the duration of your stay plus 5 additional days?
Exactly. And you will see when the guideline comes out, you are allowed to bring, that's why they ask for the flight information. You're allowed to bring that duration plus 5 days, no more. You cannot bring a 3 months value of medications. They will not let you in with it. Donc, pour vos informations, et vous allez les voir dans le guide qui va sortir plus tard, vous avez seulement le droit d'amener autant de médications que nécessaire pour, à partir de l'entrée au pays jusqu'à la date de sortie et 5 jours, pas plus. Sinon, ils ne vous laisseront pas rentrer.
Do the IST need to have the note, the doctor's note?
Yes, they do. All ISTs, all adults, PMT, everyone.
Perfect. When will the guidelines be out? Which guidelines?
For the medications. Give it a week or two. We're just finishing up some translations.
George, there was a question just prior to that. The parental consent form will be addressed later, so we'll talk about that. But somebody was saying, where will it be sent to? So again, we want to make sure we have that as well too.
Yep, that's coming up in David's talk, I bet.
Yeah.
Maria, anything else for Maria? Next question, still another question on that. Must all medications be in their original bottles packaging, prescription or non-prescription?
Yes, absolutely. Otherwise, they might take it away from you. So everything has to be original prescription and package. Even Tums. I don't want anybody with a little Ziploc of Tums. That is the dumbest idea in the world. Please, only original packaging.
Perfect. If there's nothing else, then we will move on to David for our favorite subjects of travel and pre-camp.
Yeah, it's my turn. So welcome everyone. So I'm David, the travel pre-camp lead. So I'm gonna give you a quick update on, well, there's quite a lot to discuss. So it's gonna be an update on travel and pre-camp. So as you've seen, probably in your communications and the email that was sent on Friday, there's been some progress in terms of travel. So we've got some things to share with you. The first things would be about travel communications. So we're moving forward in terms of the planning and booking everything for travel. So that means you may start receiving communications about travel, either from the airline, from the travel agency. These communications will be sent to you by email. It may not be, we've started processing these, so not everyone have received an email, but some of you have. These messages include information about your itinerary, the services offered by the airlines, etc. You may also receive notice of changes to your flight schedule. So these are important emails that you need to keep somewhere, because for your reference, it's going to be good for you to help in your planning, but you do not have anything to do. Even if you see an email that says, please confirm or whatever, you do not have anything to do. It's all being taken care of by the contingent. So if you have any questions about these communications, just send us an email and we'll be able to help you. Donc, juste pour rapidement à propos des communications, donc on commence à bouger du côté du transport. Donc, vous pourriez commencer à recevoir des communications des compagnies aériennes ou encore de notre agence de voyage. Ces communications-là vous donnent des informations sur vos vols, votre horaire de vol, les services offerts. Vous pourriez aussi recevoir des informations à propos des changements d'horaire. Si vous recevez ces courriels-là, prenez-en connaissance, c'est des courriels importants à garder. C'est important de savoir que vous n'avez pas d'action à prendre, par exemple. C'est le contingent qui s'en occupe. Si vous avez des questions par rapport à certaines de ces communications-là, n'hésitez pas à nous écrire, puis on va pouvoir vous aider. The other point is about insurance. So as you know, as part of your registration fee, there was a travel insurance coverage. So we have that for everyone as part of the contingent. It is not possible to opt out of this coverage. So you may also receive communications from Manulife about this insurance plan. It's being activated once we book your ticket. So usually you will get an email from the airline about your tickets and your flight schedule. And then a couple of days later, you're going to get an email with your insurance details. Again, keep all of this information. It's important information. And if you have any questions about that, just reach out to us. And about the insurance, the full detail about the coverage is going to be shared soon. We're just collecting the final information. So if you haven't received the email yet and don't have the documentation but still want to refer to it, we're going to make it available somewhere in the coming weeks. Donc, par rapport à l'assurance, comme vous le savez, c'est inclus dans vos frais d'inscription, une couverture d'assurance voyage pour tout le monde. C'est pas possible de refuser cette protection-là. Vous pourriez donc recevoir des courriels à propos de la couverture d'assurance de notre partenaire Manuvie. Donc, si vous recevez ces communications-là, c'est normal. C'est encore une fois des communications importantes que vous devriez garder quelque part avec vous pour pouvoir vous y référer. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à nous contacter. Vous n'avez rien à faire pour activer cette couverture-là. Now, the two big things, and you should have seen this in the email on Friday. It was part of the attachments. Unfortunately, there's part of the email that didn't follow along all the way to you, so you may have missed a couple of instructions, but the documents, the important part, were there. So the first thing is the Korea Electronic Travel Authorization, or KETA. So that is a mandatory document for all Canadian passport holders. You need that to enter South Korea. It replaces the visa. So you will need to make a request for a KETA well in advance. You can do so by following the instructions that were in the email. It gives you all of the steps and the links to go and get your KETA. Once you went over all of the steps and process your KETA, you will get kind of a document that you can keep with you, that you can print. And it's going to give you kind of the permission to enter South Korea. So it's better for you to do it as soon as possible. Just to avoid any delays. Currently, there's not a lot of requests being sent to South Korea, I think, because the processing times are quite low. So it's a good time to apply for a KETA, and you'll get it in a couple of hours, maybe sometimes, or up to a couple of days. You'll find more information about the KETA in that instructions document. There's also a link to the Government of Korea website where you'll find more official information on the KETA. So if you have any questions, just refer to that. The important thing to note is that there is a fee also to get a KETA. It's about 10,000 wons, so about 10 to 12 Canadian dollars with the current exchange rate. So that's something you'll need to pay for that. If you are not traveling with a Canadian passport, that is an important thing. You may need a KETA or you may need a visa or something else. So please check the requirements with the South Korean embassy closest to you, the website, or your issuing government's website. It is your responsibility to make sure you have all the documents and meet all of the requirements to enter South Korea. There's a very limited number of things we can do as a contingent to help you. So make sure you do all of the processes and apply for all documents well before we depart to make sure you have everything. If you need any information to get a visa, for example, if you need a letter, write to us and we'll be able to produce one for you. I will put the link for the KETA in the chat, and again, refer to the document that was in the email sent on Friday for the full instructions and the link to the Korean website. Donc, à propos de l'autorisation électronique de voyage pour la Corée, donc le KETA, c'est un document obligatoire à avoir pour tous ceux qui ont un passeport canadien qui voyagent en Corée. C'est un document qui remplace le visa. Donc, vous êtes obligé de le faire et faites votre demande idéalement le plus tôt possible. Vous pouvez faire la demande en ligne. Les instructions étaient dans le courriel qui a été envoyé vendredi dernier. Donc, vous allez trouver dans les pièces jointes un document qui vous donne les instructions sur comment obtenir une KTA et puis le lien vers le site web du gouvernement pour faire la demande. Vous allez trouver aussi plus d'informations sur ça en ligne. Une note, c'est que le KTA, il y a un frais de 10 000 won pour avoir une KTA. Ça revient à environ 10 à 12 dollars canadiens. Un KTA, une fois que c'est émis, c'est valide pour 2 ans. Donc, si vous voulez retourner en Corée par la suite, vous pouvez utiliser le même document. Toutes les étapes pour l'avoir sont vraiment dans le document qui était dans le courriel de vendredi. Le lien est dans le chat si vous voulez vous y référer. Si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à nous écrire. Ça va nous faire plaisir de vous répondre. Si vous ne voyagez pas avec un passeport canadien, référez-vous s'il vous plaît au site de l'ambassade de Corée du Sud ou au site du gouvernement qui vous a émis votre passeport pour vérifier les règles d'entrée en Corée pour vous et assurez-vous de faire la demande de tout document, que ce soit la KTA ou un visa à l'avance. C'est votre responsabilité de rencontrer tous les critères d'entrée en Corée. Il y a très peu de choses qu'on peut faire comme contingent s'il vous manque un document quand vous arrivez. Donc, assurez-vous, s'il vous plaît, de faire vos demandes en avance puis d'avoir tous les documents avec vous. Si vous avez des questions, si vous avez besoin de lettres pour des visas, etc., n'hésitez pas à nous écrire. Ça va nous faire plaisir de vous les donner. Okay, so I think that's it for the KTA. We'll go. I think we'll finish the travel section, and then George, I think we can come back to the questions after.
Okay.
I think it's going to be easier that way.
Okay.
Or do you want me to go through the KTA questions now?
Well, there was a question way back that was asked, so that's my starting question that I know, but it's up to you. You want to continue?
Yeah,
Or do you
I'll
want
just
to do
finish,
this
then
batch?
it's going to be all done, and then we can concentrate on
so
the
you
I would
questions.
continue
strongly
and then I'll
recommend
do-
we go through the questions now that we've had, and then we go back into the travel.
All right. So the first one that I know of, do we also need all youth to have a Category 3 out of the country travel Scouts Canada parent guardian consent form?
So we're gonna have the consent form is gonna be the next section. So we're gonna address that there about what documents you need to exit and come back to the country after. But the KTA is something really different.
Right. So this was more of a Scouts Canada consent form, and we have a category when we leave. We have a Category 3 form.
Yeah, so you can answer that because you're more familiar with the Scouts Canada thing.
I'm going to defer to Susie, who's probably much more group commissioner than I ever was. Do we know what are we doing as a contingent? Does David or Susie? Do either of you know?
The Category 3 form is filled out by the unit leaders. Okay.
Thank you.
For the information that we are asking, which is all the documentation that we're asking for under travel, we are going through each and every one of those. So as a parent or as a youth or as an adult, you do not have to put that Category 3 document in. That would have been done by your scouter. Under these assumptions, we're the scouters for this.
Thank you. Scouter Steve asked, I have a September 9th departure date. When will I get that info?
A September 9th departure date?
Yes.
Please confirm what you mean by that. Are you staying
That's,
in Korea?
yes, Steve is staying in Korea for this is for a David question.
Yeah, so okay, so that's really a travel questions and not really a KT questions. So if you're asking questions about your specific situation, please send us an email. It's going to be easier for us to respond then to this meeting.
Perfect. I'm just going through the questions in order. That's why that one came up. Maria's already someone asked, what does daily health check mean in pre-camp? And then Maria asked where that was.
Okay.
Mentioned.
Okay. So the daily health checks. So that's something that was in the last newsletter. So you've probably seen in I think a month ago, there was a newsletter released with information about the pre-camp. So in that newsletter, there was kind of an itinerary, a preliminary itinerary about the pre-camp. The health check is just a check in the morning, making sure that everyone is okay before we start the activities for the day. We've took the language that was sent by South Korea. And put it in the newsletter. So that's maybe why you cannot refer to everything. But yeah, it's just making sure that everyone is okay, everyone is there and is safe to start the day. And then we do the same at the end, making sure that everyone's come back and everyone's okay for the night.
So then there's a number of questions here, which I know you've answered, but can your ETA be submitted prior to departure? The answer is yes, I know that.
It needs to. You
yes.
need the copy to board the plane
Yes.
in Canada. So you need to have it, and you need to have it printed to show it to the airline before you board.
So again, we're going to be following this up with your unit leaders and patrol leaders and the IST. That KETA cannot be done the day of your travel. It needs to be done in advance. These things are good for, is it a year, David, or longer?
2 years.
2 years.
So there is no reason to wait except for the reasons that David will talk to you about, which is it needs to be on the correct passport, correct, David?
Yeah.
It has to be on your correct passport. So if you do not have the passport you're traveling on, do not fill out your KETA until you have the passport you're traveling on. For that, the other question, I know somebody says our KETA was approved in an hour. Great, that's excellent. Some of the issues that we have actually had adults fail to get on their flights because they thought they could do it at the airport, and they had to pay an extra $3,000 to go and get another flight. Okay, these type of things are not insured, and so there's an understanding that if those things happen, because we are telling you that this needs to be done, your unit leaders are going to follow up, your patrol leaders are going to follow up, they will follow up with that. Costs, Dave, I think somebody's asking about costs.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost in all of the chat.
So I'm trying to follow along in the question order, and so the cost was mentioned. It was about $10 Canadian, is what I heard in there. Hey, ETA asked for if you're on a tour and what the travel agency is.
It doesn't ask about your travel agency. The only thing it asks about is an address where you will be in Korea. If you look in the instruction form that we've put in the email on Friday and that I've put again in the chat tonight, there is the address of the Jamboree. So that is the exact thing you need to use for your KETA submission. In parentheses, that's the postal code that you need to put in the system, and then you can look up the address, and then you find the exact text that is beside the postal code in the instructions. That's what you use as an address. On the second line, you put 25th World Scout Jamboree, just so that they know that you are attending this event. There's a lot of people that are going there at these dates, so the South Korean government will know what you're talking about when you say World Scout Jamboree. They know it's happening, they know where it is, they know the organizers and everything. So just make sure it's in your submission, and they will be able to link it up to the event.
There's an app for KETA. Could we use that? I bet you the answer to that is no. Have paper documentation with you at all times.
Yes, and it's not an app for this one. It's really a website where you need to apply for a KETA, then you respond and you get a PDF once you're approved. So there is other entry requirements that could require an app or something else. We're going to talk to that closer to departure date because that's not relevant for us right now. The KETA, you need to go to the website. You need to apply for a KETA. You're going to get a link by email saying that you've sent your request. Once it's approved, it can take a couple of minutes, couple of hours, couple of days. You go back into your application and you retrieve your document. You save it somewhere, you print it and bring it with you because you want the paper copy. You don't want to rely on technology at the airport to show it to the airline, because if you don't have any battery, if you don't have an internet connection and you can't access the document, the airline will treat as if you do not have your document and they will refuse boarding. So make sure you have a paper copy with you. It's always easier for that.
This one's very
Somebody
specific.
on a British passport, George.
What's that? I was just going to say it might be better if he emailed David directly because it's a very specific answer.
Yes, if you're not traveling with a Canadian passport, you need to refer to the South Korean embassy closest to you or the website of your issuing government just to check what the entry requirements are for you. You may need a KETA. In that case, it's the exact same process. You enter your passport information and then the rest of the information in the instructions form is still the same for you. But you may also need other documents for which you will need to apply, such as a visa or something else. Please check on your issuing government's website or the South Korean website just to make sure you have the correct documents.
So password and KETA and parent letter is all that is required.
No, we'll be talking more about
There'll be
there's
more.
another letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of those are required, but there will be more. We'll leave it at that. The next one is for me. Will the link be going into the Discord? I can certainly put it there. It's been posted in this chat plenty of times, and everybody should have received a copy of it in the email that went out. Next question is in French, and I don't know. Est-ce que le vaccin contre l'encephalitis japonais? Oh, is the Japanese encephalitis vaccine required? Is the English version of that question, but it's in French. So, David, if you want to.
If that's a vaccine
sorry,
question, it's going to be to health.
Sorry, doc. Yeah, wrong person. We were in travel, so this is really a doctor question.
When I asked, it wasn't required in Korea like it was in Japan for 16-year-olds and under. But again, ask your pharmacist, ask your doctor, whatever they recommend. It is not required to enter the country, however.
When will we have news from the travel agency? Soon.
Okay. Yeah. So I've just seen a couple of questions about the KTA, so I can answer all of that. You do not need the information on a travel agency or anything for the KTA. If they're requiring that, you're on the wrong website. So go again to the link that we provided to you, both on the chat and in the document. There are a lot of websites that says that can get you a KTA. A lot of them are not the official ones, and they're a travel agency or something like that. You really need to go through the link that we've put in the chat and that we've put in our documents. That's the official South Korean government website. The fee is going to be lower, and you're only going to have the required questions. So you do not need a travel agency or anything. The only thing you really need is the address in South Korea, which is in the instruction. You do not need your flight information. You do not need your entry or exit date. So you can apply to your KTA right now. You can do it while we're in the meeting if you want. You have all of the information you need.
That answered the next question. Will a full list of the documentation that each person is required to board the plane and to arrive in South Korea be provided closer to the date?
Of course we will, because we're providing you with the information when we have it. But closer to departure, there's going to be another newsletter about the travel, and there's going to be all of the final information about the travel stuff you need. Things you need to remind yourself of, things that you need to print, things that you need to bring with you on the plane, things that you need to put in your check bag. So everything's going to be on that newsletter closer to departure date, because we want to make sure that we provide you with the latest information at that point. If we give you information now, it may change. So we're going to wait, and then closer to departure, we're going to share it with you, the final information you need, just so that you can check that you have everything.
Thank you. Mr. Chef David said, make sure you use the link that David P sent you, because there's bogus ones out there. You mentioned you have to have your current passport. Someone just had his renewed and doesn't have the physical copy. So should he or she wait to apply?
Yeah, in that case, that's the only case where you should wait. The KTA is really linked to your passport. So when you apply to your KTA, you need to have the same passport you're going to use to enter South Korea. So if your passport is expiring, or if you only have your old passport and are still waiting for your new passport, then you need to wait. Once you get your new passport, the one that you will use this summer to get in South Korea, that's what you use to do your KTA. If you did your KTA with an old passport and then you get a new one, you need to resubmit and reapply for a new KTA with that new passport information, and you're going to get a new KTA with a new document and a new code, and that's the one you want to bring with you.
So there's a couple of questions on COVID. We're going to hold off on those COVID questions until we're finished travel.
I was just going to say that as the keeper of the questions. Discord link I will put in here in a minute, and the parent consent we're going to talk about in the next part of David's talk. So we will cover that off right now. David, next part of the travel.
Okay, and I just saw a question saying, when will the last newsletter be published? And we're targeting 1 to 2 months before departure, so that you have the latest information. So just expect it there, and there you're going to have sufficient time to apply for everything if you need to. Okay, yeah, I'm just going through, and then there's the COVID. Okay, I think we can go to the last part of the travel. I know you have a lot of questions, so it's okay. It's the forum to ask your questions, and then we can answer them and give the same information to everyone at the same time. So the last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of travel, now that we've spoken about the KETA, is the parental consent form. That is also something that was in the email on Friday. So that is a document that is mandatory for all travelers under 19 years old. Yes, that may include a couple of ISTs. That also applies to you. This is a document that allows a youth to exit Canada, enter South Korea, and come back to Canada without their parents. So you need that form to be signed by both parents. If you are in a special situation, you will need to refer to the Canadian government website, where you will find guidelines about what to have in the letter, and etc., so that you can do something that is more customized to your situation. But these templates, I'm going to put them in the chat so that you know what I'm talking about. So these letters, you need them to be signed by both of your parents. They need someone to sign also that is not your parents, that needs to sign also that letter, or have it notarized. That's the other way to do it. If you have a special situation, we highly suggest that you notarize your letter, just to make it more official and facilitate. You will need a letter like this one to cross borders. So that includes when you arrive in South Korea and when you come back to Canada. You will see that there is a section that asks if there is someone that is traveling with you. And for that section, what we highly suggest is that your parents check the box that says, I authorize my youth to travel alone. That's going to be the easiest thing, and it's going to allow you to cross the borders by yourself. Because we're traveling as a large group, it's going to be difficult to make sure that there is a specific adult with you at all times because of the flight schedule and everything. So please make sure to check that box saying that you can travel alone, and then you're going to have no issue to go through customs. If you do put a name in that section that says, I authorize my youth to travel with a specific person, that person needs to be with the youth when they cross any borders. So that includes when they arrive in South Korea and when they come back to Canada. So please just be mindful of that. Yeah, so that's the copy, the letter. You need to travel with the original copy of the letter, the paper copy, ideally. You can have a digital version also as a backup on one of your devices. That's good. What you can also do with these letters, both this one and your KT and things like that, you can upload it to EPAC if you want. It's not mandatory, but you can put it there so that the contingent has access to it if needed. But make sure that you have at least a paper copy of it somewhere, because it's going to be easier at the airport to provide it. Yes, I see the question about the French version. I'm going to address it in French, but I'm going to say it in English also just to make sure. But yes, if you fill out the form in French, we also recommend that you fill out the form in English, because it's going to be easier for South Korea if they ask for it. In Canada, the French one is going to be okay, but because of South Korea, we recommend that you fill out the form in English. It's the exact same forms. The fields are the same. So if you don't understand English, you can still complete the English form by referring to the French one, because you can mix and match, because you know exactly what's in English, because the French form is exactly the same, exactly at the same place. Okay, so that's for for this one. Gonna just donc en français, par rapport au dernier document qui est obligatoire pour voyager, pour tous les voyageurs de moins de 19 ans, donc ça peut inclure certains IST. C'est la lettre de consentement parental pour le voyage. C'est inclus dans le courriel de vendredi et ça a été inclus dans le chat aussi. C'est un document qui doit être signé par vos deux parents qui vous autorise à quitter le pays et à revenir à la suite du voyage. C'est un document qui doit être signé par vos deux parents. On vous demande de voyager avec la copie originale du document avec vous. Vous pouvez en avoir une copie électronique aussi en besoin. Et ce que vous pouvez faire, vous pouvez aussi la télécharger sur votre KETA au besoin dans EPAC. Ce n'est pas obligatoire, mais ça nous permet au contingent d'y avoir accès au besoin. Donc, assurez-vous de tout le temps voyager avec cette lettre-là. Vous avez besoin d'un témoin qui signe avec vos parents ou de faire notarier la lettre. Si vous êtes dans une situation spéciale, donc vos deux parents ne peuvent pas signer pour différentes raisons, vous pouvez vous référer au site du gouvernement du Canada pour avoir les lignes directrices sur les lettres pour le consentement parental, pour avoir une lettre qui reflète plus vos besoins. Puis, on vous suggère dans ce cas-là de l'avoir notarié parce que ça va faciliter le passage aux douanes à l'étranger. Le lien est dans le chat. I think that's it. And I'm ready for questions.
Sorry, I muted myself during that. So should we attach custody papers to the letter?
You do not need it, but get it notarized in that situation is going to be it's going to be better. Refer to the Canadian government website just to see what are the guidelines for your. They have guidelines for specific situations, and they can tell you what documents you should carry with the consent form if you need anything. So if you are in one of these situations, please refer to the government website. I've just put it in the chat. So just go in on that page and you're going to have all of the information.
Perfect. Well, the link, you've already done that part. Someone's addressing the I'm not able for the documents. Esther's going to take care of that. For the
okay. And just to say, because I see comments that people are not able to access the documents in the chat. Yeah, maybe refer to the email on Friday. They are all in the attachments, and you should be able to open these copies if you're not able to access the chat. That's a technical issue. That's okay.
Yes, there's been a number of people answering how to get them, and they'll provide links and whatnot to them anyways. For the KETA, the email information, should it be the parent or child info?
There is a part about your contact information in Korea, so it should be the child's information in Korea if you have any, or you can put the patrol leader, maybe, and then in terms of the email for the submission itself, it could be the parent email, but just make sure that in the section that says contact in Korea, that you put something that you can be reached at while you're in Korea, so not a parent.
Perfect. That's all of the questions. So before we go to the COVID questions, there's actually a couple more people, or Rob Ramsden wanted to talk about the pick and pack weekend stuff. So we'll let Rob talk before we get to circle back to the other questions.
Yeah, I'll make it quick so somebody doesn't have to translate very much. I just want to tell everyone to check the email for Friday. There was comments on everything we've talked about tonight, but we are doing the pick and pack weekend this coming weekend at Samac Scout Camp in Oshawa, just east of Toronto. Anyone that is within driving range of there, if you guys want to come and pick up your kit or pick up the kit for your patrol or people that are in your group, any box that's picked up will come with 2 additional crests to make up for the shippings that the contingent's saving for. So if you'd like to come out and meet a couple members of the CMT or have a chat, pick up your kit, you guys are welcome to drop in between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. on Sunday, March 26th.
So there's a question, what is pick and pack? It just means we're assembling all the contingent kits together. We're picking them all out of one box and packing them all into another.
Donc, la version française pour cette information, c'est on fait les boîtes du contingent la fin de semaine prochaine et si les mondes est disponible pour aller ramasser leurs boîtes et sont autour, ils sont bienvenus à venir nous rencontrer, à venir prendre leurs choses. Les gens qui ramassent leurs boîtes personnellement vont avoir 2 badges extra parce que ça nous fait sauver de l'argent dans le shipping. Et ça va être ouvert des 3h à 5h l'après-midi, dimanche le 26 mars. Donc, c'est à Oshawa. Toute l'information est dans le courriel que vous avez reçu dernièrement. Mais c'est ça.
Maria, your memory always amazes me. Yeah, so if anyone wants to drop in, somebody asked what are the kits. These are your participant kits. So every IST member, every scouter and every youth is getting a kit, which is the basic branded items that you guys will be wearing throughout the Jamboree. It includes stuff like the Tilly hat that we procured. So those items will all be available in boxes along with all the extra items that were ordered in advance through the website. Beyond that, if anyone has any questions specific to their kit or their pickup, it's definitely something to send us an email. You can send the email at wj23kit@scouts.ca.
Two quick comments, Rob. Which entrance? Because our friends over at Oshawa Samak have two entrances. So can you just give a confirmation on which entrance?
Yep. Give me 30 seconds and I will get that answer.
Second, I want to thank the person who said, do we need any help? At this point in time, we do not need any help. We have lots of people who will be doing the work on the weekend, but I want to thank you very much for your offer. Do you need to give us advance notice that you're coming to pick up the kits? Rob will answer that in just a second.
Yes.
So, go ahead,
I can
Rob.
answer that meantime. While I'm getting this detail here, we can, if you can send us the registration name and registration number of yourself and anyone you're picking up for, it'll definitely make it faster when you're picking up because we'll have it put off to the side. If that doesn't happen to happen and we haven't heard from you, we will be able to pull your kit out, but it'll be faster and easier on everyone involved if we've gotten an email in advance letting us know you're coming. And I will type this into the chat in a moment, but you're going to be entering from our Colin Road side of the camp. So I'll put that in the chat, and I have the address here to go to. The camp has two separate entrances, so we'll put that in the chat, and it may also come out in a follow-up email later this week.
A lot of questions about when they will be shipped if they're not able to pick them up. You're muted.
They should be arriving by mid-April is our goal. The pickup will be at the old scout shop. So whenever you're there, you're just gonna be following the signage for the old scout shop. It's in the administration building on the south side.
Perfect. Any more questions for Rob? All right. If there's no more questions for Rob, we'll circle back to those COVID questions. Let me scroll up to find them again. Bum, 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 bum. Where'd it go? I lost it now. Someone asked if there was COVID. I know if it was. Will we need proof of COVID vaccinations?
Sorry, I'm just gonna correct myself because Lindy's already done it.
Okay.
That entrance was for our camping. You should be entering from Simcoe Street for where we're going to be doing the pick and pack. But I'll put that in the chat in a moment.
So there's another question. Can they send somebody else to pick up their kit?
Yes, if you're coming along, again, please send ahead an email that has the registration number and name of the individual you're picking up for. We will take note of who's picking up for who. But no, not the person doesn't have to be present to pick up their kit. They can send somebody else to grab a handful of kits. We have a number of PLs that are picking up for their entire patrols.
So there was a question about, is COVID vaccinations required?
The answer to enter the country, they are not, but they still want you to show proof that you've gotten the doses, and that's why on EPACT, there's a section where they ask about the doses. Right now, it's not asked to enter the country, but like we all know, things can change along the way, so keep them close. We have that information. Donc, pour rentrer en Corée, ce n'est pas nécessaire. Ils ne demandent pas les vaccins de la COVID, mais parce que tout ça peut changer dans les prochains mois, on ne sait jamais. C'est pourquoi c'est demandé dans le questionnaire EPACT. C'est pourquoi il y a une section pour les vaccins COVID avec les dates et la sorte de vaccin que vous avez reçu. On veut quand même avoir cette information si jamais on se fait poser la question là-bas. Thank you.
Perfect. That was it on the extra COVID questions because you've answered that, I believe. So we are out of questions on the regular topics. I'm going to open the floor now for questions on anything. So first, EPAC has spaces for only 4 COVID vaccinations. They've had 5.
Then you just need those 4 ones.
Sorry, there was another question that I did miss regarding the COVID. What happens if a child develops or anybody develops COVID while abroad?
We will follow the country's reglement and like policies regarding COVID, which could mean isolation. But with that, we also need more information from the Jamboree. But yeah.
And I believe we as a contingent have started to develop plans
Yeah.
for that as well. So regarding that, there was a follow-up. What if they couldn't fly home with the rest of the group?
So can I answer that one, George?
Of course.
So the South Korean Skating Association has those contingencies in place. Should a youth develop COVID while we're there, within the 10 days, again, if you remember, it was that 5 days of isolation, and then they would be fine to join. So within the first 5 days, and they develop it, they will be in isolation. But the South Korean Skating Association will have an isolation area. We have Canadian contingent members who will take the responsibility of being in that area as well too, to ensure that we have Canadian adult supervision within for the youth that do have COVID. Should it occur after that point and it could jeopardize the flight home, we will deal with that at the point. But South Korea and Canada have a policy that the South Korean will not charge for the length of time, and we will make sure that David Pulio and our team will have the ability to send that youth home at a later time for flights if that's required, if they're not allowed to board the airplane.
Perfect. Would bringing a lightweight tarp be a good idea? I don't think that's required. I think presume you're a participant. The campsites all should come with some sort of shelter to eat under. At least the pictures all show that they would. So I don't think, I mean, if you wanted to bring it, that's by all means. If it fits in your pack and you don't mind carrying it there, you can, but I don't think there's a requirement for one. We still don't have the full, what everyone's getting on their contingent site or their Jamboree unit site, but that will come at a future date. There's lots of talk about shoes. I think Chef David said if you're going to get shoes now, like if you need new shoes, get them now. Break them in before you get there. Nothing worse than having to walk around in new shoes for the time.
May I join in there, George? There's a recommendation that you probably bring 3 pairs of footwear. A hiking boot, an all-round just walking boots, not and it doesn't have to be a full ankle support unless you as a youth need that as an ankle support. Strongly recommended that you have a hiking boot. Number 2 would be shower sandals or something, Crocs or shower sandals, because again, there'll be 4,500 people or 45,000 people at the Jamboree. Everybody will be having showers. Strongly recommended you have a footwear that you walk into the showers with. And number 3 is a pair of nice, comfortable shoes, whether they be soft runners or something that you feel comfortable that you can just put on while you're around your site.
I'm going to add an addendum to David's comments. The sandals, the open-toed sandals, should only be for the shower, though, not for the rest of the site. You can, if you want something that's more like the Keens have some really nice closed-toed sandals of sorts. Those would be fine, but the Crocs and the other sandals are strictly for the showers, not the rest of the site.
Just to let people know that there's no doubt in my mind that you'll be walking anywhere from about 21 to 30 kilometers a day.
Get them broken in now. For footwear, I think we just covered that. Can you please confirm where we are staying once we leave Seoul? We are apparently only spending 2 pre-night camps there. Over to you, David.
Yep, so that's the pre-camp. And we've gotten a couple of questions on that, so maybe it wasn't really clear. But the pre-camp, it starts in Seoul for the first 2 days and 2 nights. We'll be sleeping in a university there. After that, we're making our way to Jeonju, where we're going to another university there for the last 2 days and 2 nights. So we'll be sleeping in another university in Jeonju, which is the city closer to the Jamboree site.
Perfect.
And if
I'm
I
gonna
can
ask the
just
Oh,
maybe
yep.
add something, just to clarify that all meals are included for the duration of the pre-camp and also, of course, on the Jamboree side. Meals are also included in your plane tickets. So the only time where you will need money to get a meal is if you want to eat something at the airport. That's going to be at your own expense. But other than that, everything is included.
Or if you want to eat something out when you're in the pre-camp time, if you want
Yeah,
to
of
go
course.
to a local stand and buy something, a moon
But
pie or
we're
something.
providing you with 3 meals a day, and then if you want something extra, that's on you.
This was answered, but do the kids need sleeping bags for pre-camp? So you've already answered that. It's bedding is provided, but you should have your own sleeping material for or your own sleeping stuff for the Jamboree. Any update on the USB power? So Chef David was there recently, and he said there will be limited USB ones, like power banks you can buy and exchange, but there is a finite number of those. And we don't know what that number is. Did I
That's right.
paraphrase you correctly?
Yeah, limited number on battery packs. There will be a charging service at sub camp. The details of that, I'm sure, will come to light when our executive management team are there for their heads of contingent meeting in April. I'm sure they showed us pictures of what they're supposed to be. I'm sure those details will be confirmed, so there'll be an opportunity there. I would really, really, really recommend getting a solar charging station for you to charge a battery pack of your own, and then charging your own devices. I believe luck favors the prepared. I think there's a motto with our organization that might have something to do with that.
Maybe. Ruben was just showing was just holding one up there that he's got. Does it work?
Big Blue?
Have you tried it yet, Ruben?
I haven't tried it yet, but I've read all the reviews, and this one seems to be good. I'm gonna try it, and then I'll put a review on the Facebook page, and you guys can check it out. But it looks pretty big, and it has a lot of. I don't know if you can see it there.
Ruben, I just got that, and I came home from camp today, having tested it. So I can say that it worked very well to charge 2 devices in full sun. Putting a third device on it, of course, splits power. But it charged my phone in a couple hours.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
For reference, a Google Pixel 6, so not a small battery.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's another COVID question here. If someone's COVID isolation overlaps with the flight to the Jamboree, do they miss and they miss the flight and the whole Jamboree? So if they catch COVID before they leave here and aren't allowed on the plane when we go.
That's something we'll have a look at to see what we can do. And we'll come back with you to you with more information, I think, in the following meetings. Because we have to see what we can and cannot do in terms of getting you to the Jamboree.
That would, and please make sure that you're keeping us up to date, and your unit leaders and your patrol leaders, of any medical issues.
Yes.
I'll give you for instance, we actually had somebody at the WJ19 break his leg 2 days before the Jamboree, got on the airplane without letting any of us know that he had broken his leg. We had to send him back home because his leg started swelling up because there was no circulation within the leg. So we need to know that type of information immediately, and please ensure that you're sending that to both your PLs, your patrol leaders, and your unit leaders to get that information to us.
And that is the kind of information that even a day before the Jamboree, you can always modify your e-pact and let us know.
Yeah, I would say modify your e-pact and email me or the main contingent email address so that it gets distributed correctly. Because some of us are in travel around that time, and yeah, just make sure you email somebody as well as e-pact. There was a Scudder Steve there had a Goal Zero solar panel. I used to have one of those. It worked really well till it stopped using it. And the other brand was Blue something or other. What was the brand, Adam or Ruben? Big Blue. Big Blue. Oh, it's a competition between the Goal Zeros and the Big Blues. Next question. Any
Sorry,
major
I
insect...
just dropped an Amazon link for the Big Blue in the chat as well.
Perfect. Any
George, just
major...
to go back, there's a question from Christopher Vivalik for the parent consent form. Do you want to
sorry.
just read that one?
For the parent consent form, not sure too well understood, do we need to fill up information about accompanying person section? If yes, which person we need to refer?
Yeah, so I've put the reply in the chat, but for that section, what we recommend is that you check the box that says I authorize my youth to travel alone, because that's going to be the easiest thing to go through the borders. And not put any specific people information, because then you need to make sure you cross the border every time with that person, and it can get complicated given we're a very large group. So just check the box that says I authorize my youth to travel alone.
There was a question about number of checked bags. The answer is 1. Anything else is at your own expense. Next question, any major insect issues there on site? There's not much info. I believe the answer is yes, there'll be lots of them. I'm looking at David or something. I think there's mosquitoes, I believe, is one that's
Mosquitoes.
yes.
Yeah, we were there in August of last year. We were on the site. Again, we were just a couple hundred of us. We didn't see too many bugs or insects, but we would strongly recommend that you be prepared for bugs and insects using a repellent.
There was a question, will they need a mess kit? I do not believe they do. They'll need a mess kit not for pre-camp, but they will at the Jamboree, is my understanding. Something about eating at the food houses from as well as eating other places. Will bed sheets be provided at the pre-camp? I believe that's already been answered. The answer is yes. FinJam, I think this is more of a comment. FinJam had issues with theft at the charging stations. So I don't know if they're doing phone charging stations like they did at WJ19, where there was this giant octopus of things, and you could just plug in. And I would never plug in and walk my phone away. That seemed a little bit of a crazy idea. But the one we were talking about, USB power, the idea would be you'd buy one of these power books, and then you would just swap it for a full one, or you would be able to charge it at your HQ. Not sure how it's going to work yet. We don't have any information on that yet, really. Hopefully once David, Susie, and Remy come back from South Korea next time, they'll have more information for that about us. Questions about solar charger we've done. How long will the Jamboree last? August 1st to the 12th. Plus the pre-camp before that. Will there be Wi-Fi at the Jamboree? We are told, yes, there will be Wi-Fi. What it's like and how good it is, we're not sure yet. This questions in French. Est-ce qui sera fourni pour dormir?
Yeah, so it's what you I can translate for you, George. It's what will be provided to sleep. Is there only a mat, or is there anything else?
In the Jamboree, there is a mat provided. We are encouraging people to look at maybe getting a very lightweight cot to bring along as well, to get yourself off the ground just a little bit. Anne has said they will need to bring money to eat at the food houses. That is true. That's an extra cost food house to eat at the food houses. You know, you don't have to, but I highly recommend it. I enjoyed myself at the ones I went to last time. And of course, having pancakes and iced maple coffee is always a good thing.
Do we know what
I
currency?
paid George nothing for the endorsement there. It's purely George.
That is correct. He did not pay me for this one. Or any of them. Or
do we
any
know
of them. He's not paid me for any of them.
Do we know the currency yet?
We do not know
definitely
the
will.
currency yet, so we will find out in regards to the information that is being provided to us in April.
Perfect.
Isn't there a limit of liquid quantity you can bring on a plane? If so, how can I bring mosquito repellent and other things I might need? Shampoo, toothpaste, etc.
Yeah. So yes, there's a limit in terms of the liquids you can bring with you on a plane. So it needs to be in bottles of 100 milliliters or less, and all of these small bottles need to be in a 1 liter Ziploc bag maximum. Anything above that needs to be in your checked bag. So on your checked bag, there's no restrictions. You can bring your full bottles and everything. Just be mindful of the weight of that. There is a weight limit of 23 kilograms for a checked baggage. So if you fill that up with liquids, it's going to be super heavy and you'll have an extra charge. So yeah, there's a limit of what you can bring with you on the plane, but there's no limit in what you can put under the plane.
David has Chef David is showing off a baggie of, I think, the maximum that all your stuff in your carry-on has to carry.
For your carry-on, yeah.
Yes.
To confer with Dave Puyo, I do a ton of travel, and for sure you can put other things in your check bag, but you have a weight restriction on your check bag. So those little travel bottles are you go to the Shoppers Drug Mart or Walmart or any pharmacy. They typically have smaller bottles of shampoo and smaller containers of deodorant and toothpaste. Or they sell, if you don't want to use those things, they typically sell refillable containers, and you can use those for traveling too. You just want to make sure they've got a good seal on them.
You can also get, someone also posted, there's toothpaste tablets that you can get, and there's also washing soap flakes. So they come out like a little piece of paper almost that dissolve in water.
And David, I'm not sure, will they have the option to do any shopping around Seoul? Like, would they be able to purchase some of these items if they didn't want to bring larger quantities of them over? Some items are going to be available there as well.
You're gonna have a couple some time in terms of during the pre-camp in Seoul. For ISTs, you're not going to Seoul, you're going directly to the site. So bring everything you need, or you'll need to find a way to get it to the site. But for participants, yes, while we're traveling in the city for the pre-camp, you can get some stuff if you forgot some things.
There was a question about extended travel, but David's answered that directly. Would locks for your tents be recommended? It's probably, I mean, it might not be a bad idea. Just get if someone, we'd like to think that we're all scouts and nothing bad is going to happen, but that's not always the case. And so maybe a small lock will certainly deter them for the moment and maybe move on to the next tent that doesn't have it. So I would probably say yes. We talked about currency in the food house. Do I have an example of a lightweight cot? I have the Thermarest one. Someone else just posted something in the chat. There's a couple on Amazon. We hope to at some point, I know Ruben actually asked, was going to have a newsletter about day in the life of stuff that will have some thought on that.
Yeah, we're going to find a list of just stuff that you could probably purchase. And I mean, it's stuff that we've seen and people have recommended. We might not have tested it, but at least it's a suggestion. Of course, do your own research. And if you guys have anything that you guys do recommend, please email me and I can add it to our newsletter.
Perfect. When is the kit list coming out? The kit of stuff you need to bring, or the kit of list that is in your Jamboree unit when you get there? The kit list that we're going to send out Ruben has, we have something. We're going to see if we can find something and get it sent out soonish. The Jamboree unit kit, we have no idea when that's coming out just yet. That question in
Yeah, George, if I can just say something, because we've got comments about not everything being translated. So I just want to say that the important information is being translated in French in the chat. And if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. Donc, on s'excuse que c'est pas toute l'information qui est traduite. Il y en a beaucoup qui est dit. La plupart, c'est des répétitions d'informations. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on traduit pas tout. L'information qui est importante, on s'assure de la mettre en français dans le chat. Donc, référez-vous au chat si jamais vous voulez avoir les informations importantes. Puis, n'hésitez absolument pas si vous avez une question, on va vous répondre.
So I'm gonna, in the Discord, I'm gonna make a channel for like kit recommendation or recommendations of stuff, not kit necessarily, and we can all post those in there. Maybe I'll call through this list afterwards and post all the links for that in there. This is just an FYI from Anne. Sunscreen can be a medication. They cannot question this as the limit. Interesting. For the consent form, what are we supposed to put for the information about accompanying person? They missed that response. Oh,
yeah, we've replied to it like 3 times in the chat, so look at it. We recommend, again, just to make sure it's an imported form, so it's okay to ask your questions if you have any. Just check the box that says, I authorize my youth to travel alone.
Just some reminders there. How big will the tents be? The tents are 210 centimeters by 230 centimeters. That question's been answered about Canadian food is Canada House selling pancakes, iced coffee, and something else. Not freedom fries, Quebec fries. Is that still right? Perfect. Rodney posted a bunch of suggestions for things. For those that have been on site, are we going to recommend a padded insulated cot? That's our question from Rob. For those that have been on site.
Sorry, I was just referring to David and Remy and Susie. The link there was for an insulated, padded, like a winterized cot. Would we want that as a recommendation, or is that going to be too hot in the environment?
I would think it would be too hot. I don't know.
I would think what we're looking for is the pad is going to be provided. So if you just are looking for a nice lightweight cot, then you're going to be taking your pad that's being provided to you by the Jamboree and putting the pad on top of the cot. I don't know if you'd be wanting anything else besides that.
Yeah. Can we purchase more gear, for example, more shirts? That's a Rob question. Is there any extra kit gear?
Yeah, so we did place our order. We did purchase badges and neckers and some of the more transportable items that we can take over with us in a quantity intended for purchase to those on site. You'll be able to, we'll give you more information on where you can buy those. It'll likely be at the administration area at the venue. We do have a limited number of t-shirts and other items that were purchased as a cushion to make sure we could deal with any quality issues or missing items or those sort of concerns. Those items will be packed up and taken to the Jamboree site with us as well. If anyone is looking for something in particular, you can send me an email for exactly what you're looking for. Following this weekend, when we finish picking everyone's kits and orders and have them packed up, we'll have a final answer on what we have left and we'll be able to release those. At this time, if you're purchasing them domestically before we go to the event, it'll be taken care of in a very similar manner to the Crest forms, where it's being direct deposited out of the same account that you're using for your registration deposits. On site, we are unclear whether it's going to be a cash or a payless or, again, done the same way. That'll be decided much closer to the event.
So someone converted the tent sizes, about 6 by 7.5 feet. That sounds about right. Will there be a Jamboree store on site, and will there be a post office to mail postcards? There's definitely going to be stores on site to buy stuff. There always is, and I would imagine there'll be a post office. There's always one of those as well. Lots of those stamp people, like their first day covers and things like that. So I would definitely say those will be there. Will 2 cots fit into the tent? They should. The cot that I have is pretty narrow. It's just wider than me. So 2 of those would fit across. I don't have the actual dimensions, but they should. We're just talking like the cots that I'm picturing in mine sits maybe 3 inches off the ground, and as I said, is probably about as wide as my sleeping bag. What's the reason for recommending a cot over an air mattress? Mine is really comfortable. You can bring whatever you want. I certainly have a really comfy air mattress that I still might bring on top of my cot. But the thing about an air mattress is if the ground gets wet and the wet comes through the bottom of your tent, the bottom of your air mattress is going to get wet as well. At least with a cot, you are up above that. So, you could bring your cot and put your air mattress on top of it if you wanted, but I would recommend being off the ground just that little bit.
Your bags can also be put on the cot during the day. If there's a torrential rainfall during the day, you can move all of your stuff up onto the cot and it gets everything out of the water if there's any concerns.
Yep, you could definitely put a tarp under your air mattress. Whatever way you want to get.
So folks, we're trying to be very proactive. We're trying to tell you to be prepared. We have visited the site already. The site is reclaimed land from a delta. Okay. When we were there, we did see some areas which had water and dampness in the area. So, with knowing that information that we know now, and we'll have a better understand when we're there in a month's time, it's our recommendation that if possibility to get a cot to get you a couple inches off the ground, that's our recommendation. You can use a mattress, you can use a tarp, you can do all of that. But again, if it does get damp or wet, there is a possibility that without what we're sort of recommending, that that could get damp.
So there was a comment about digging trenches around the tents for drainage. We have not heard anything that's going to be allowed. So at this point in time, that is not allowed until we hear otherwise. The tents being provided have no waterproofing. There's we don't know. We kind of have an idea of what the tents look like. If you go in the Discord into the IST sub channel there is a picture of the IST tents, which I presume are for everybody. I'll move them somewhere where everyone can see them. They look like a nylon tent. They're probably not the best tent. They're probably not the worst tent. Well, I shouldn't say that part. They're a nylon tent. We don't know really what they're like. David Franklin, you were in one. Looked like it have any waterproofing? Standard Eureka type tent material? Caught them off guard.
They're a standard. No, they're a standard tent. They've got the bathtub bottoms along them. All I can say is they're going to be brand new tents. So sometimes they're pretty good with being waterproof, and I've bought new tents that weren't. We can't really comment any further on it.
That's fine.
But maybe that's something that we could forward when the next heads of contingent meetings happening on site, and we might have some more information available to the team then.
Perfect. Will you need Korean money for everything at the Jamboree and the pre-camp? So at the pre-camp, 100% Korean money is probably going to be required. At the Jamboree, we do not know yet what currencies will be in use. I would imagine Korean for sure, but we don't know what, if any other currencies will be accepted. Will there be swimming in the ocean? I have no idea. Anybody know?
We can't confirm at this point, but it was one of the activities that we did see, that there would be ability to swim in the ocean. The ocean is attached to the China Sea side, so it is a saltwater ocean. So
Cool. Can we choose which of the 2 tents we get, and can we choose our tent mate? This is from Steve. So yes, the ISTs get to choose their tent mates. I haven't gotten that far in my planning yet, so please don't send me who you want to be your tent mate yet. We'll talk about that more in the next little bit, or coming up as well. There's another French question. I don't even know if I want to try and. I don't know if it's
I
been
replied
answered.
to it in the chat.
Okay.
So it's
perfect.
just yeah, about the rain and everything. It's okay.
Okay.
So Neil has a question again. So the tents being provided have no waterproofing. Neil, they are waterproof tents. They're the same type of tents that we would get from their brand new tents, never been used. They'll have the standard waterproofing of a nylon tent. It is a fly and tent system. So exactly like a Eureka, it's an intermesh with poles and a nylon tarp or fly over top of that with zippers to a vestibule. That's what we've seen. We've looked at them. What we're talking from George Christian is these tents have not been taken out into the wilderness. We haven't, the seams have not been completely waterproof that you probably would do on your own tent. These are brand new tents, and I suspect the quality will be fairly good. Okay.
As I said, there's if you go into the IST channel on the Discord, there's pictures there of actually our very own Phil, JPT Phil, in them, so you can get a good idea of what it looks like. I'm imagining. So this is a comment: 3 pairs of shoes, a cot, sleeping bag, mess kits, liquid clothes for 17 days, and 1 check bag that can be carried on your back. Might take some magic. So clothes, things like clothes. Expect to do laundry when you're there. Don't take 17 days worth of clothes. Take, I don't know, 2 or 3 days worth of clothes and do some washing.
Yeah, one of the things. Yeah, one of
ahead,
the things we're going to add in that newsletter is the scrub bags. One of the things we're going to recommend that you buy that you can do your laundry there on site.
And if you don't want to get a scrubber bag, just a regular old dry bag with a tennis ball inside actually works just as well. So yeah, you can, don't plan to take 17 days worth of clothing. Take 3 or 4 days. Someone asked about debit interact be available at the pre-jamboree and the jamboree. Rob answered that somewhere. Debit interact doesn't work for payment outside of Canada. However, you can withdraw money from the ATM with the Plus network. Do we get to keep the tents after the event? No, you do not.
There may be a mechanism to purchase them, or no? Was that discussed by the Jamboree yet?
So we do not have confirmation yet of what they're doing with the tents.
Okay.
So as George has said, right now we're assuming not. We will get back to everybody as soon as we hear what their plans are for the tents.
Julie asked, will the tents be set up? And the answer is yes, right after you do it. The patrols, everybody has to set up their own tents. The jamborees, like the patrols and the jamboree units, will have to set up their own tents plus their kitchen area, I believe. But we're not really sure. What is the weight limit on checked baggage? 25 kilos? Is that right?
It's 23 kilogram.
50
and I'm putting
pounds.
the exact restrictions because there's a weight limit and there's a size limit. I'm putting that in the chat. If you go over that, there is an extra $100 fee per direction. So that means $100 to go to Korea, $100 to come back from Canada. And I'm putting everything in the chat just so that you have the exact numbers.
We've actually spilled over into the IST meeting a little bit, but that's all of the questions. Lots of links about the scrubber bags that people are talking about. Definitely worth looking into. So that's the end of the meeting. Lots of questions. I'm glad we had it in the end.
George, can I just?
Yes, Ruben had wanted something for 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just going to post in the chat here a list of all our web pages, social media pages. Feel free to visit all that, emails, any information that you guys need, especially when we're at the event. We're going to be posting a lot to our Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. So just start visiting these pages, following us, and yeah. If you have any questions, I've also posted the 2 emails there as well.
Perfect. Well, everyone from the patrol unit leaders and the youth and parents, thank you very much for giving us your time on the Sunday night. And we will see everybody in a month's time. Go ahead. Turn my down.